Okay, hi there. This is Improve Your Squat series number 2. So in the previous video, the series number 1, I talked about ankle mobility, and then it showed you just a few exercises to improve your ankle mobility in order to improve your ability to do the squats. So if you haven't checked out the first video, and then I'll put a link down below so you can check it out later. Anyways, so today's video, I'll be talking about and showing you a couple exercises to improve your knee and then hip mobility. And because, okay, so what's the purpose of doing this video? And the purpose of doing the video is to improve your ability to do the squats, right? And then so the many things could interfere with the ability to do the squats. Mobility of the hip, mobility of the ankle joint, mobility of the knee joint, hip joint, and your spine, and also the ability to coordinate all those parts during the squats and then impact your ability to do the squats. So let's get into the hip and the knee mobility exercise. I'll be showing you just a series of the exercises, and then the first one, it really is easy to do. All you need is just the place to lie down, and that's it. So let me lie down first. All right. So this is the starting position. So lie down on the floor with the knees bent. Okay, the feet shoulder width apart. Okay, here bring the knee, draw the knee towards the chest, and then grab a hold of your knee, just below your knee with your hands, and then gradually you're going to and gently move your knee towards your chest and bring it down. Really simple. This is a rather warm-up exercise, and I wouldn't really encourage you to try to pull it to the chest and stretch it as far as you can. And rather, I'd like you to improve and focus on the quality of the movement, smoothness of the movement of the hip joint. Okay, so there's really no jerkiness and rough movement to it, and so very smooth and up. When the movement gets a little hard and jerky, and stop and try to move a little less, so you can keep the quality of the movement. Also, good to mention that you better pay attention to your breathing. So if your breathing changes, you start to hold your breath, and that affects the quality of the movement. Then you can't really bring your knee, and you can't really move your hip joint really well. And so pay attention to your breathing. So make sure that the breathing is comfortable, and then you're really not changing all that much as you're doing the movement. Okay, so I'll do this one. Repeat this movement. Move the knee towards your chest and then it down, or about 20 times. Okay, all the quality of the movement becomes nice and smooth, and then stop. Then repeat the same thing on the other side 20 times and come back to the same leg, and this time instead of going up and down, you're going to side to side. Take the knee to the left and to the right. So you're thinking about visualizing the hip joint is rotating left and right in the socket. And then again, focus is the quality rather than really the quantity. So the range is not really, I wouldn't focus too much on the range, because unless the quality improves, the quantity improves. Okay, go side to side 20 times, or until the movement quality improves, and then you switch over to the other side and do that 20 times, and then back to the same knee again, and combining all those directions to make a circle. You go around. You can start with either direction and focusing on the quality, smoothness of the motion of the hip joint, and really pay attention to whether you can really feel the movement, the circular movement in the hip joint. There are certain parts of the part of the movement that is probably not as smooth as the some other parts. So really focus on that part that doesn't really, your hip joint doesn't really want to move into, And so then see if we can improve that range. And then do 20 times or so in one direction, and then change the direction of the circle. So that the movement of the circle is really nice and smooth. Okay, so you're really moving the hip joint in the circle. Okay, done 20. And to the other side, 20 clockwise and counterclockwise. And after you're done, and moving on to the next sequence, so bring the leg up. Okay, and then so I'm doing starting with the left leg and then reaching with my left hand to grab a hold of the outside of my left foot. Okay, then if you have a hard time grabbing and holding onto the left foot with your left hand, you can hold on to your sock, pants, ankle, whatever works for you. But I'm going to do it this way here. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the knee to the inside of my elbow, and then pass the knee to the outside of my elbow, going in and out. Okay, so for me, it's hard to bring the knee to the inside of the elbow, as the hip joint doesn't really want to move into that direction. Going the other way, it's much easier for me. So you may find the same or you may find the opposite. But similar to the other movement we did, trying to make the movement become a little smoother. Then I'll do about 20 times this way. Okay, and then change the legs, do here 20 times. Then after I'm done, okay, this is the last one. Here, left leg, left hand on the left leg, left foot outside. Bring the right leg up, reach with my right hand. I'm holding onto the outside of my right foot with the right hand. So both my elbows are inside my knees. Okay, and from here, I'm going to move my knees to the inside, okay, of my elbows. And I'm going to move my knees to the outside of my elbows, and then alternate that movement. Okay, so what I'm really doing is I'm moving and rotating my hip joints. At the same time, my knee joints are coordinating with the hip joints. Here, alternate. Then I'm paying attention to the two legs and how the two legs are moving together, so that I'm not leading with one leg and then the other leg. Okay, so I'm doing with the both legs. So the timing and the sequence of the movements are important there. So you can probably pick up asymmetries and the differences between the two hips, and which you will find that when you're doing the squats, because the two hip joints are probably not the same. They don't move the same way. But if you can improve the quality of the hip joints and on both sides, and that certainly will help your squats. Alright, so I've done about 20 times, and then the last one, okay, so I'm going to starting this way. So I don't know if you can see it. So my left knee is outside of my left elbow, and then my right knee is inside of my right elbow. And at the same time, okay, so I'm moving all together, moving my left knee to the inside of my left elbow, and then my right knee going into the outside of my right elbow. So going this and this. Okay, I'm going to turn around. Maybe that helps. You can see a little better. I'm paying attention to the coordination and paying attention to the sequence and then the timings of two legs. So I'm not doing one leg at a time, but I'm doing two legs together. And I'm making sure that I'm not changing my breathing patterns. I'm maintaining my normal breathing. I'm not holding my breath. So the quality of the movement is, good quality of the movement is maintained throughout. Okay. And that's the first exercise, which is kind of long, right? So starting out, okay, so going over quickly. So the first one, easy one, up and down. And then the second one, side to side. Third one, circle, one direction, circle, the other directions. Right? We do both legs. And then I'm going to this one leg, knee goes in, knee goes out. This and this. Right. And two legs. Both knees go in, both knees go out. Alternate, in, out. Okay, and then the last one. This. Almost like a skiing. Okay. Left, right, left, right. All right. That's the first one. And the second one, which is similar to the first one, in a different position. So I'm going to be on my hands and the knees. Positions here. Okay, so you can do with the ankles this way or this way, but if you're thinking about the squats, and functionally it probably makes sense to have your feet this way, okay, because it'll be closer to the squat position. But you can do either way. Right here, I'm going to move my hips and pelvis back towards the heels, rocking back and rocking forward. Back and then forward. Okay. About 20 times. But when you do this one, slowly do it. Maybe you can tell that there is a difference between the left hip and then the right hip. Okay, if it is easier to move into the right hip going back, then you may find that you have a tendency to shift the weight over to the right heel. Okay, so if you see if you can notice that asymmetry is in a difference. And if you do notice that you prefer and favor one side, and try to even it out so that you can keep the weight in the middle so that both hips move at the same speed without going over to the right or the left. Okay. Then after you're done, then you're going to go side to side, going over the left hip joint and going over to the right hip joint. So shifting weight, you're thinking about moving your hip joints. Okay, left moving into the left hip joint, moving into the right hip joint, rocking left, right, 20 times each directions. And then you're combining all those directions. You're going back and up and then over, circle. Okay. Quality over the quantity. So focus on really the shape of the movement. Is it really circle? Or is it more like a square? Or is it more like a triangle? Okay, make it circle. If any range that you tend to get a little less smooth, improve and take a little more time into that range. For me, it's right around here. That's when it gets a little more difficult. So then I can just focus on this part to make it a little smoother. Okay, and then it changes directions. You're going 20 times 20 circles each directions. Going over, going over. Okay, I recommend that you do it even more slowly than the speed that I'm doing right now. I'm doing a little fast right now, but I'll do it much slower if you're starting out for the first time, so you know what range is difficult for you, so that you can focus on that range that you can't really move easily. Yeah. Okay, so you can also play with, like I said, you can play with, if you're starting out with the ankles flex like this way, flat like this way, and then you can try it the second time with the ankles bent and moving back and forth and side to side, and then making a circle like that. All right, I think that's it for today's video. Okay, so did the two exercises really, and they are pretty much the same as far as the movements, and the difference is it's done in a different orientation, lying down on your back or on your hands and the knees, and there is a difference. One positions, the hip joints are not really loaded with the weight, and then the other way you're putting the weight, and which is similar to more squats. Okay, so because it's doing the squats against the gravity, so that's a little different. And lying down on the back, it's a little easier because you're taking the gravity out of the equation. So try both ways, and you can do a few times a day, 20 times, and going through all the movements. And I will probably do 3 times a day or so, and see if you can improve the mobility of the hip joints and the knee joints. I didn't really talk too much about the knee joints because the knee joints probably, the knee joints, they are going along all right, and they're going to follow where the knee joint, the hip joints are going. So when you're doing all the movements of the hip joints, and the knee joints are going with the hip joints. So in a way, these exercises were addressing the mobility of the knee joints and also the coordination between the hip and the knee joint. Okay. All right. Well, quickly before I end this video, I'm just going to bring the camera. All right, to show you the hip joint here with my skeleton. Okay, so this is the ball and the socket joint, right over here. Whoops, can you see that? Okay, so the movement, bringing the knee up and down, is this joint, this movement. Okay. Here, and going side to side. It's a little hard to do holding onto the camera, but that's the side to side, and then combining the movement up and down. That is a circle there. Maybe you can see, hopefully you can see some movement. Okay, so the head of the femur is making a circle. Okay, that's it. All right, I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it for today. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and please consider subscribing. And if you haven't checked out the first video, ankle mobility, and please check it out as well. Put a link down below. So, and the next one is the last video of the series, and how to improve your squat, and that is the spinal mobility and the coordination and the integration. So kind of put them all together. All right, so stay tuned and see you in the next video. So thank you. Bye bye.